Is your job search stuck? Maybe you're not getting any interviews with employers. Or maybe you are, but no job offers. Or you may be new and not even know where to start. This is Charles Max Wood, and I'm releasing a new course and ebook on how to find a job as a software developer. The course walks you through the process of finding the types of companies you want to work for, getting their attention, and putting your best foot forward as the candidate they want. I've coached dozens of developers in looking for jobs and have been able to help several people find jobs within 2 weeks to 2 months. So whether you're new to development, can't find a great job that fits what you want, or are looking for remote work from an area without a strong tech community, I can help. Go to getacoderjob.com and sign up today. Hey everybody, and welcome to another My Angular story. This week we're talking to Li. Now, Li, you were on episode 210 of Adventures in Angular talking about Zone.js.
Yeah.
Do you want to just give us a brief introduction, who you are, why you're famous, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I would like to. My name is Li, and I'm from China. And I have been working on AngularJS 1 about 4 years ago, and working on Angular 2, 4, 5, 6 in the last 3 years. And I have been working on the Zone.js about 2.5 years ago. And I have become a co-operator and the core developer of the Zone.js. Currently, I basically handle everything about the Zone.js community, the bug fix, new features. So yes, I love Zone.js and love to contribute to Angular, and that makes me some kind of famous in the Angular community.
Nice. That's awesome. And Zone.js, for those that aren't familiar with it, is the portion or the library that helps with change detection and things like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's right. It will help the Angular to know when to trigger the change detection. It basically handled all the asynchronous operations. It monkey patch all the asynchronous, such as set timeout, promise, and it will know currently Angular has how many tasks are running, how many tasks are finished, and when the Angular is stable, it will trigger a change detection. Yeah.
Nice. So let's roll back a little bit and let's talk about your journey into programming. How did you get into programming?
Yeah, after I graduated from university and I enter a company, my major is not computer science. It is the communication. But my first job, one of my elder in the same school, one of my classmates, and introduced me to a startup company, which is making some software. It is a very small company, about 5 people, and the founder is from America, and they are building some very cool software about management, the software development, such a kind of version control, bug tracking, about 15 years ago. And at that time, it is a company in China, and at that time, the version control is not that popular yet. People still using CVS, VCS, starting a lot of very old version control software, and Subversion and Git is not there yet. So we are making some software like very brand new version control system in China, and this is very cool. And the founder is very can touch a lot of new technologies, and I develop a lot of very very new things such as a lot of algorithms and the NoSQL database. We developed a brand new NoSQL database ourselves, and we also developed some kind of new Java web server template engine ourselves. So it is very interesting about the first job. Yeah, so that's why I entered the development world. Yeah, it is very interesting. Yeah.
Awesome. And so were these tools, you mentioned like a Java web server and things like that. So was that mostly where you were focused?
Yeah, at that time, my focus is about the front end, because about the version control system, we have a CLI command line interface, and we also have a lot of GUI applications across the Windows platform and the Linux platform. We basically make interface for every platform we can. At first, we made a lot of we made the GUI application with Java and with the Swing. And after that, we use the SWT, Java library by IBM. And we make a GUI application in Windows, Linux, and we also make the command line interface for all the Linux Unix system. So basically, my focus is on the front end. Yeah.
Nice. How did you get into Angular?
Yes, about 5 years ago, my previous job is in a very big company in Japan, and they have a research team, and they want to build their next generation of the web system. So they have some research, they have some nominations, Angular, React, or still using some old jQuery. So they compare those frameworks to see their advantages and how they fit in the big team development. So I'm very lucky to join the framework team and working with them to help them to pick up which one is better. So we make some prototype with all those frameworks and compare their productivities and how well they can organize the structure, how long they can pass to the development team without any requirement lost, something like that. And after that, we decide to use AngularJS. At that time, it's still AngularJS. And so we did a big project about 1.5 years with AngularJS 1.5. And it kind of success about the very big team, maybe 100 people was involved. So everything works fine. And so after that, the big company decided to continue the next generation of the Angular. So we use Angular 2 to build the web system and use Ionic to build the mobile some applications with Angular 2. So the big company continue to use the Angular product. Yeah.
Nice. So how was the transition from Angular to Angular 2?
Yes, it is a little, at first the big company has some hesitations about that because it seems everything is new and all the code in the AngularJS 1 can't work in the Angular 2. But we did something better for the transition in the AngularJS 1 because architect of that company decided to use TypeScript in the AngularJS 1 already. So
nice.
Yeah, that is very big decision. So at that time, TypeScript is not that popular yet, but that guy decided to use TypeScript and use all the new features of TypeScript. Everything is typed. And he also made some decorators. It is not exactly the same with Angular 2 at component, at directive, but he made something looks like that. He makes some decorators, it is just some basic function calls, but as service, as a directive, but he makes it looks like Angular 2 directive, Angular 2 decorators. So finally, we found our code is very easily to transmit to the Angular 2. I think the architect made some very great decisions at that time. Yeah.
Nice. So you mentioned that you've been contributing to Zone.js. I'm curious because people, they hear about open source contributions and things like that, and they think they have to be some kind of massive genius to do that or have, 80 years of experience in a 30 or 40-year-old field. And so I'm curious, how did you get into making contributions to Zone.js, and then how did you get to the point where now, you're a very major contributor to the project?
Yeah, in fact, my first touch of the Zone.js is not an Angular project. Between the AngularJS 1 and 2 project, we have about 6 months. In that period, we did a Node.js server project. It is not enterprise product. It is much more like research project. And we use Node.js and make a Express.js middleware set to handle the concurrent requests and to control who the logging journaling, who is doing what at time. So we make a lot of middleware and of the Express.js. And at that time, the same architect in that company want to use Zone.js to handle the asynchronous operations. So we can easily, so every request from the client, we make a special zone. And so in that zone, all the operations of that request is managed. So in that zone, we can handle the log, journaling, concurrent, everything like that. So at that time, I even didn't know the Zone.js is used by the new Angular. So at that time, I first time know about Zone.js. So we are using one feature about the long stack trees. So all the array stack trees a chain between the asynchronous operators, like set timeout and the promise, something like that. So everything is a chain together. I found a bug of the Zone.js about the long stack trees, and I tried to fix it about maybe 20 hours to find that bug and change one line of code. That's my first contribution to Zone.js. And in fact, that's my first contribution to the open source world. And I just find it is very interesting. And it is, yes, at that time, Zone.js is not that popular yet, but I found Zone.js, the project itself is very interesting. So I decided to use some of my weekend time to read the source code of Zone.js. And I just did that about 3 months. Every weekend, I read the source code of Zone.js and make some documentation contribution and add some test case to Zone.js. I made about 10 contributions in the first 3 months. And after that, I just love to continue to do that. So yeah, because Zone.js is not, it is a lot, not that popular, but it's a little competitive. So not a lot of people was involving in it. So after 3 months, there are a lot of, because Angular 2 is very popular and a lot of bug requests or something, questions about Zone.js was posted in the community. So I found there are not a lot of people answering that question in the GitHub issues. So I try my best to answer that questions and fix bugs. And I continue to do that in all of my weekend, of my my spare time. So I continue to do that about 6 months. So I became I think I am the most active developer in the community. And after about 6 months, the Mishko, the father of Angular, he invited me to become a co-operator of the Zone.js. Yeah, after that, I kind of, main contributor of that project.
I think it's interesting, we're talking about, this is a project that is being used across thousands of Angular applications. And, your journey into this, you had never contributed to open source before. You contribute a bug fix, and then you contribute a bunch of documentation helps. And then you start really contributing, basically code, more bug fixes, maybe an enhancement here or there, things like that. And I think people get this idea that, you either have to go invent some big technology, right? So you have to go invent a new Angular, which is silly. It's insane if you really think about the amount of work that takes. Or, I can't contribute to open source because, I'm not a genius coder that's going to come up with this thing or that thing or the other thing. And, what you're saying is I just contributed a bug fix, and I had never contributed to open source before. And I think a lot of people get into it that way, but it's after a bunch of hand wringing and, I'm not really good enough for open source, and then come to find out, it's really easy to get involved.
Yes, exactly. Before that first contribution, I never thought I can even do that before. I just think, like you said, I think the contribution to the open source world requires you have a very, very strong coding skills, very, very strong communication skills, and you must did some genius work. Then you can contribute to the open source, especially something like Angular, something like Zone.js. It is very well used and very complex project. But I think it is really easy to begin your journey to the open source world. You can just begin by some test code, documentation, and bug fix, and you just read code. It is just you have to spend a lot of time to read code. That is true, but you don't need to have a very, very strong genius coding skill. I don't think at that time I have very strong JavaScript backend because I just have about 18 months AngularJS experience. Before that, I didn't do any kind of JavaScript projects. I am a Java and C# guys before that. So I don't have a very strong JavaScript backend. I just like to fix some bug in my real project. Then I did some very, very easy, the document typo fix or something like that, and just read the code and add test. Everybody can do that. So I think it is a very good way to begin the involvement of the open source project. And if you really love it, I think you can contribute to the main part of that project. And yeah, I think everybody can do that.
Yeah, one other thing that I'll point out is that you got involved and fixed a bug in Zone.js because you were using it. And one thing that I find, especially as systems get larger, right? So Zone.js is probably not a terribly large library as compared to something like Angular or JavaScript or, in some of my past work, Ruby, right? Yeah. The programming languages, they've got this huge code base that supports all kinds of different things. One thing that I find is that there's a difference between the people who are writing it and the people that are using it. And so when people are working on a project, they may not be aware that there's a bug because they're working on the features in the project and they're not out there using it every day like you are. And so, in the situation that you came in with, you fixed a bug because you were using the thing and it wasn't working as expected. You wrote test cases because it needs to work in a particular way. And this is a good way of essentially codifying the communication of it should work this way when it, under these circumstances. And so that's another, I think, argument in favor of getting involved in open source is if you're using the library, you're going to bring some perspective that a lot of times the people architecting the library or framework or whatever aren't seeing because they're focused on building the system and not actually using the system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yes, I think another thing is I see a lot of questions from the Stack Overflow or the GitHub about Zone.js. Yes, they are some people they are using the Zone.js, but they don't know what Zone.js do, and they just find some stack trace or error happens in Zone.js, so they just ask questions. But some other guys they dive into the very deeply in the bug. They will find the exact reason why it don't work. I think that is another difference why people can involve to the open source more or involve in some third-party libraries much deeper because they really want to find the exact real reason about when something didn't work. Yeah.
So what are you working on now? Or is there anything else that you've worked on that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, currently I'm still working on the Zone.js project about some bug fix, the new features. And I just changed my job about 3 months ago, working on the current company called Scilabs. Scilabs is an American company, and it is also a startup. And it is focusing on the high performance computing. It makes some containerized solution for the high performance computing world. And just like it seems like some kind of Docker in the normal application world, it makes containerization to the container on the HPC and also on the enterprise world. Yeah. So I'm currently working on frontend, the cloud system. We are using the Angular to build the frontend. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is very interesting to do some cloud stuff. Yeah, in my previous job, basically we are doing some in-house project for some Japanese enterprise customers. They are not a cloud service. So basically we deploy the product into their own servers. But in my current job, I can do something like DevOps and to do the cloud service. Yes. Yeah, that is new experience.
Nice. Well, if people want to find you online these days, where do they go?
Yeah, and I'm very happy that I can join the Zone.js community because I think that kind of changed my development life. Before that, I was just a normal developer guys working in the company and just, and do what your boss told you. But after I joined the Zone.js community, I really find some project I love. I think that's the passion. I think that's the most important. And I just learn everything and from the fundamental of the JavaScript, all the asynchronous things. And about 2 years, I basically spent all my weekends to read the spec stuffs. One thing I remember very clearly I made a feature about Zone.js. The promise is we are using in Angular. In fact, is implemented by the Zone.js. Zone has its own implementation of the promise. And I spend about a month every evening and every weekend to make it pass the promise A+ test. It about 900 test cases. And before I did that contribution, about 300 test cases will fail because Zone didn't implement a full spec promise. And I spent a month and read every spec of the promise from the WCC and something like that. It is a nightmare at first. I didn't understand a word about spec, but after that month, I feel very, very agreed that I really insist to continue to do that. And I think that feeling is that, satisfaction is great. So I think if everybody finds some project they love, they found what the passion is, I think that is the most motive of contributing. Yeah.
Nice. So if people want to, I don't know if you do blog posts or, find you on GitHub or Twitter or anything like that, where do they go?
In fact, in this year, I didn't do a lot of Twitter before this year's NGConf. And this year I attended the NGConf in Salt Lake City, and I met with Angular core team, and they are very kind and talk to me. And after that, I really begin to use Twitter to post something new about Zone.js, something what I'm doing. It is also very interesting to communicate with people in the Twitter or something like that. And I also joined the Angular in-depth, and it is a writing community. It is funded by the Max, and he is a genius guy. He did a lot of reverse engineering in Angular. He read tons of posts about what Angular really underlying doing and what Angular inside implementation. He did a lot of posts. And I also write some, blog posts in the Angular in-depth. Yeah, I think, yes, outside the GitHub, the Zone.js project, the social post is also very interesting to communicate with all the communities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So where do you post?
Yeah, I post something about the Angular elements. That is also what I'm currently doing. The Angular element is an Angular implementation about the web component. And because the Zone.js in the official world, the Angular team is making the Angular elements basically without Zone.js, because Zone.js is a little heavy. And if you use Zone.js basically monkey patch out the global APIs, set timeout, promise. So it will impact other things outside of the Angular elements. So the blog post I write is basically about how Angular elements work inside. It is just web component wrapper by the Angular element, and inside it is just a dynamic component. I read several blog posts to explain that. And currently I'm working with making the Angular element working better with Zone.js, not without Zone.js. I'm making a proposal to let Zone.js only live inside the Angular elements. So Zone.js will not impact outside of the Angular elements. So it will not monkey patch the global API when you not inside Angular elements. So if that proposal is passed, I think the current Angular developers will feel a lot of more easier to to migrate their current Angular components to Angular elements. Because without Zone.js, you have to rewrite everything your current existing component to Angular elements. But if you can still use some kind of scope to Zone.js, the life will be much easier. You can just use all the existing code of your Angular component and writing some wrapper, then it becomes Angular elements. I think that will be very cool if it's really, pass the proposal.
Nice. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do some picks. Do you have something you want to shout out about?
Do you run your own freelance business? Or maybe you're thinking about picking up some business on the side? Well, then you need FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the quickest and easiest way to get invoices out to your clients. It's easy to use. It works anywhere, available from any device on the desktop, iPhone, iPad, Android, and all of your data is backed up and secure. And it makes it really easy to get organized and get paid. You'll be tracking time, logging expenses, and invoicing your clients in no time. You can also save time billing freeing up several days per month to focus on the work that you love, and you get paid faster. FreshBooks customers are paid on average 5 days faster because there's a link on the invoice that says pay me now. And it's a great way to grow your business. Plus, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day trial. That's right, 30-day trial if you try them out. So go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Once again, for a 30-day trial, go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section.
Yeah, currently the most pick I want to share with everybody is about really the Angular in-depth. And the angularindex.com is founded by Max. And before, about 3 months ago, he basically writes the articles himself. He spent a lot of time to write Angular compiler, the component, change section, something like that. And a lot of people follow him and learn from his blog posts. And about 3 months ago, he created a Slack group. He invited a lot of very famous people in the Angular world, and he created a community, a lot of writers. So he asked everybody to write blog posts about Angular in the Angular in-depth. So currently, basically every week, there are about 2 or 3 blog posts about Angular in-depth to introduce very, very deep Angular implementation. So I think every article is very great and it is worth reading. So I think that is very cool, especially in this 3 months.
Nice. Yeah, Angular in Depth is an awesome blog.
Yeah.
Really, really dig it. Yeah. And we've talked to Maxim a couple of times, and yeah, they're doing great stuff there.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here with a few picks. So one that I've been listening to lately, it's a podcast. It's about business. It's called MF CEO, and MF stands for Mother Effing CEO. I try and keep a clean rating here, so I'm going to keep it clean. But anyway, if abrasive language bothers you, it's probably not the show you want to listen to. But if you want just top-notch business advice from somebody who's just going to say it how it is, it's definitely worth listening to. I will warn some people because I know it bothers people, if people are swearing frequently in the show. And this one, depending on the episode, he definitely does. It's done by Andy Frisella. He has a supplement business, like health supplements, and he actually owns like brick and mortar stores and online stores, sell that kind of thing on the internet. But yeah, terrific stuff. Great podcast. So yeah, I'm definitely going to pick that. And then the other pick that I have, and I've picked this on other shows before, but I actually just told my production and development team that they need to read this book, and I'm actually reimbursing them for the book. I'm like, yeah, just put it on your invoice that you bought the book and I'll pay you back. It's called Extreme Ownership. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I picked it on Adventures in Angular. But it's a terrific book. It's one of the core values for my business, running the podcasts. And essentially, the buck stops here, which is one of the principles, incidentally, out of Andy Andrews. Oh, I forget the name of the book. But it's the first point in that one as well. It's The Traveler's Gift. That's the name of that book. Anyway, terrific books, both of those. Or one's a podcast, one's a book. So, and I listen to them on Audible, and I really enjoy that. So I'm going to pick those if you're out there trying to figure out, what do I do next? Kind of the theme between any of those is that you own the outcome, which means you own the process for getting to that outcome. And so you need to take ownership of it. You need to go after it. And you need to realize that, even if somebody does something that throws it off or doesn't do their job or whatever, ultimately it's down to you. And so, you're the one that has to pick up the slack and run with it if you're going to make a difference. And yeah, sometimes things aren't fair. I totally get all of those arguments, but at the end of the day, the outcome is up to you. And so a lot of these topics come down to that. So anyway, thank you for coming, Lee.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and wrap this one up, folks, and we'll have another story for you next week.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.